Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hello, Tom.
Hello.
How are
Dave.
you?
I'm fine.
Hello.
Shit.
That's I think what's the album that's that? I think it's Halloween.
Raising some hell O's.
Hell.
Nothing?
I'm
Anything?
Googling it.
Okay.
Album by Gwar. It's a Gwar album. I knew
of course
it
is. Of course it is.
I think it's Gwar's first album. It might be. That's so great.
Sweet.
We've cracked it. We've cracked the word hello.
We've cracked
now
the
on
case. Is Gwar from the same dimension as the Cenobites?
No, they're from space.
Right, but space could be other dimensions.
They're the scumdogs of the universe. Yeah, you're right. All right, here's what I would say. The Cenobites know Gwar.
Yeah,
they're at
they've
least
met.
tight with Gwar.
They've met.
Yeah.
They've encountered Gwar.
Yeah. My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Hellraiser.
We watched Hellraiser.
The new one.
The new Hellraiser.
Beautiful, isn't it?
It's really nice.
You can hold it.
What is it?
It's a puzzle. And it's almost finished. Keep going.
So if I solve it, do I get a prize?
I do.
Hellraiser, like with a Z. That would be like a Gwar
that'd be pretty
song.
sweet. Yeah, you could make like a whole horror movie about like a haunted razor and people keep trying to shave with it, but it just shaves your entire face or your entire gooch or whatever it is you're trying to, tighten up.
That's a close shave, they say.
Exactly. The closest shave you'll ever have! ! We could make this movie.
We got
Dave.
it. We got it. We got the film. It's in the can.
Don't steal our idea, by the way.
No, don't steal it.
Well, fucking,
it's a $1 million idea.
If you do, we'll poke you with the lament configuration, and then you'll be in trouble.
Yeah. Okay. So, a couple questions, Tom, because I am not a huge Hellraiser fan. I maybe watched the original a few times.
I am also not a huge Hellraiser fan, but I do really like Hellraiser. It's one of the only mainstream horror movies that has truly fucked me up.
Really? Oh, the original
yes,
Hellraiser.
The original. It's more so the first one. Like the sequels get notoriously goofy, but they're still pretty solid up through like 3. But those early ones, like that was when I was like sneaking horror flicks on like Showtime and shit as a little kid. Because there was a limit to what my mom would let us rent. Hellraiser was, and Clive Barker in general, has been the only one of like the mainstream that has genuinely fucked me up. Like to this day, I can go back and watch Candyman or go back and watch the first Hellraiser, and it's like, this is fucked. This is
so
really
Candyman...
gnarly and disturbing on like a primal level.
I gotta rewatch Hellraiser because Candyman fucked me up. I love Candyman. I grew up on that one.
Yeah, that's an awesome movie.
It's such a good movie. It's one of the first horror movies I recall watching. Clive Barker in general, or rather the gore factor, doesn't fuck me up. Not in the way that, say, David Cronenberg does. This isn't meant to be like an insult against it, but it's kind of like the Hostel stuff, where it's like body horror where it's just someone being tortured never really got to me, only because it's so like it's not like creepy to me. It's just like ew, like it's just upsetting.
It's conceptually upsetting.
Yeah,
and it's not just.
I guess it's hard to describe.
To be clear, it's not the gore necessarily. It's not only the gore. For like Candyman and Hellraiser, they both have these real disturbing. Well,
Candyman's downright creepy.
Yeah, and Hellraiser is in a similar way when the gore is certainly an element of it, but it taps into this real disturbing area of thought. I don't know. It's I don't want to get too much into it because this episode's not about the original Hellraiser. It's about the 2022 Hellraiser.
Well, I wanted to ask these questions because first of all, I liked this movie. But I wasn't scared by it. And that's why I was asking, is because I was like, is this like the original?
No, it's not.
Yeah, I didn't think it was. It feels different. It's still. What did you think of this one?
I thought it was bad.
Oh, that's great.
I think this is a bad movie. I like all the Cenobite stuff. The new designs, which are still evocative enough of the original that you can identify which is which, but they had some fun with it. The effects look cool. I really like that there's no jump scares in this movie.
Yeah,
if you notice that, it's like 100%. Right, but like they leaned more on the mood of it and like setting these really like I definitely felt dread in this movie. And like when some of the horror shit happens, it's pretty cool. Like Goran Viznik's ultimate fate. I hope I said his name right. The guy from ER. His ultimate fate when we got to see him get turned into a Cenobite. That was really cool. But altogether, I thought like the script is really bad. The characters, none of the characters are likable. Everybody is constantly doing shit that doesn't make any sense. They're just doing it. Like, so watching this movie, I felt
hard agree. The part where they fight over the puzzle, and like, you give me it, and then it goes off, and it was like, wow, you really couldn't think of a way for that to happen.
As they're doing the tug of war, they do this like they solve the puzzle, so it's like somebody solving a Rubik's Cube while it's being it's ridiculous. Like I really felt like I was watching a screenwriter just come up with scenes, and it bummed me out because I was really excited about this movie. I like the director a lot. It's the same director as The Ritual and The Night House. But yeah, like this movie is full of unlikable assholes doing stupid shit that makes no sense to the point where it felt like it was insulting my intelligence.
I would say I liked the boyfriend okay, even though he also does the part where he just he forgets how to run. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, there's a lot of horror movie moments like that. Like the guy forgets how to drive as well. There's a lot of like dumb reasons for things to happen. I didn't mind the main character. I thought she was good.
Well, I see that's sort of where my problem started, because the premise of the movie is we start with this main character named Riley, who is living with her brother and another roommate, and it has a job. She's a recovering addict, but she has a job. She's been sober for a while. She's just not earning enough money through tips to kind of pay her way. And it's like, she has a little bit of tension between her and her brother, but it's not like super serious. We see them have like one argument where he's like, look, I can't keep covering for you every month. And she's like, I know, I'm trying. My tips are not great right now, but I am trying. And like the brother relents. So it seems resolved. But then like later that night, her weird ass boyfriend is like, hey, I used to work. He says this convoluted story. It was like, I used to work doing late night deliveries to this warehouse, and they got all kinds of cool rich stuff coming in, and I swear it's abandoned, and there's one last shipment coming in tonight. I don't know what it is. We should go steal it. And she's like, hell yes, let's go steal it. So she's
a real scumbag.
She agrees to break into this warehouse with this boyfriend that they've barely started dating. This is a very new relationship. To steal some shit with this guy she barely knows. Like her situation didn't seem to justify it. Like, so from the beginning, I was like, why the fuck are these characters doing any of this?
So
and the idea, like, just real quick.
Oh no, keep going.
It also really stuck out to me, and the movie tries to explain it, but it really stuck out to me, like, with the boyfriend's weirdly convoluted plan to, like, steal something. He's not entirely sure what it is, but he knows it's rich stuff, because it's like, well, all these rich people ship stuff to and from this building at all hours of the night, except he doesn't know who has shipped any of it. He doesn't know who owns the building, and he doesn't know what's in any of the shipments. So it's like, how did you ever know what any of these things were to know that they're valuable?
Well,
and of course, later we find out that he's being used. He's been hired by the bad guy, basically, to trick somebody into opening the Lament configuration. But like, for 90% of the movie, that's the explanation we're stuck with, and it's harebrained. Like, it's ridiculous. So,
yeah,
like, for most of the movie, we're riding on this. All of these events are happening because of this ridiculous heist that the main character agreed to go on for, like, no reason. It doesn't seem justified. Like, her situation did not seem desperate enough for her to be like, yeah, I'll go do a crime with my brand new boyfriend to help cover rent for this nice apartment that my brother and my roommate are already helping me out with. Like, it seemed... I
think what they were trying to establish, and I don't think they did it right, was that she's an addict, and she's not a great person, and she's not actually recovering, right? Like, when she goes over his house, I'm pretty sure they're drinking.
Yeah, they're both... I mean, he's definitely getting hammered. We don't see her take a drink until they actually get to the heist, and they do make a beat out of it. Like, she stops, she smells the flask, she takes a couple of breaths, and then she finally drinks it. So I think that was the first time she broke her sobriety.
That's true.
But
she also has the pills in her car.
Yeah,
like,
but they were like,
she's clearly like struggling. You know, I'm not justifying the movie. I agree with you. This is my Venom, Tom. Like, I don't love it as much as you love Venom, but I had a lot of fun with this movie, and yes, it is very stupid. Like I said, I didn't find it scary. Once I laughed most of the time. I found it entertaining as hell because of how silly it was.
Like, I felt really like, because you should definitely rewatch the original, because like the original has like, and they still have some of like the creepy mythology in this, but there's something about the way
I want to get into that. That's the Cenobites are my favorite. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Spoilers. One of the characters basically asked to speak to their manager, and they're like, okay. Like, they do returns. They're like, we don't do returns. We do exchanges.
Yeah.
Or store credit. We'll do store credit.
We'll do store credit.
Like, it's so weird. Like, the Cenobites, that's how that's pronounced. They are not scary to the point that they're like, they carry out full conversations with them.
Yeah.
It's like they're just chatting up like Michael Myers. It's so weird. The part where she stabs one of them and they're like, yeah, that counts.
Yeah, and they just kill him with chains. Like, why does that make sense?
They're the funniest creatures because they're like aliens who fundamentally don't understand that we don't like pain. That's what they come across as, where they're just like, we're just trying to help you. Why can't we help you?
That's precisely what they are.
Right, but they're not scary at all either. Like,
right,
because they're weirdly approachable. That's what's funny is I feel like you could go out there if you're not a target and be like, so how's your night going? And like chat one up, and they'll chat and they'll be like, yeah, my shift ends in a few hours. Like, they just seemed like they were on the job, which I loved about them.
Yeah, they do a better job of I feel like they do anyway in presenting it in the original, where it's a little more mysterious. Their motivations are a little less clearly defined.
Okay.
Even though I don't think like knowing what their motivation is makes them less scary. Like, I think the concept of the Cenobites is kind of cool and creepy. They're these cosmic
for sure.
travelers that are just like in search of all sensation, and they've experienced so much that pain and pleasure are the same thing to them. And they look the way that they look because they're like constantly in the agony that they appear to be in. It's just they mentioned in the movie, you just need to raise your threshold then. You need to find your new threshold. Because that's like what they are. They're just constantly pushing that boundary, and that's all that they're out.
They're just bondage freaks.
Yeah, scouring the cosmos, looking for new sensations to experience. That's their whole deal. But like, this movie sort of does the thing that all of the Hellraiser sequels do, which is they just make it a slasher movie with like with like a bunch of very theatrical industrial band members.
Yeah, I had a question about that actually.
Yeah.
Is the only the puzzle box? Is this how the puzzle box works across the board?
I can't remember.
For people who don't know. Okay. The way the puzzle box works in this movie, and it's I would say it's the root of part of the problem of this movie, and that's why I was wondering about the original again, is the puzzle box has configurations, and every time you solve it, it's a knife sticks out, and it's supposed to cut you. If it doesn't cut you, you can cut someone else with it. And whoever's blood it is, the Cenobites come and take away. Right? The problem with that premise, it's kind of like Wishmaster, where it's a slasher that can't just kill you. They have to be queued up. They have to be prompted. But unlike like Wishmaster, like half of Wishmaster is him being like, I bet you wish you could escape this job. Like he has to like really force people to wish because that's the only power he has. This is the same thing, only the thing that you have to do is solve a puzzle box. And like, so the movie has to keep thinking of ways for someone to do that to the point that, yeah, like we said, two characters fight over the puzzle box and solve it. So like, that's very funny to me because it's one of the most avoidable horror villains. Where you just don't touch the box and you're fine.
That's the whole thing, right? And there's a lot of horror is built on that. I don't remember specifically if it has to poke you in the originals, but the puzzle box has always been the way. It's always been the way you summon them. Okay, but that's a lot of horror, right? Well, that's always been a lot of horror, though, right? It's like it's messing around with.
Is that? Oh, sorry.
I was just saying it's a lot of horror has always been messing around with shit you're not supposed to be messing around with. It's like but it's like the forbidden knowledge type thing.
Right. But in terms of making this movie and a bunch of sequels, that's why I suspect the first movie is the only good one.
Right. You're identifying why it doesn't work as a slasher movie.
Exactly, because how many ways can you open this fucking puzzle box?
And how many different people are gonna, like, that's, for most of the movie, I kind of, even though he's a scumbag, like, I kind of sort of liked her boyfriend, because every time, and of course we find out later it's because he knows exactly what it is, but, like, every time she was like, here, look at this box, he's like, no, I don't fuck with things like that. Like, he doesn't want anything to do with this box.
Yeah, he's like, and that
would be most people, right? Like, most people would look at this freaky little puzzle box and be like, I'm not going near that fucking thing.
Right. At the end of the movie, she puts down the puzzle box, and like, this is the thing, is I was so not scared of the puzzle box. I was like, no, go bury it in concrete. Like, it's not the
throw it in the ocean.
Isn't gonna hurt you.
Let a whale fucking deal with that.
Or honestly, just keep it on your shelf, because as long as you don't use it, then you're fine. So it's just like, if you don't have any kids around or anybody to fuck with it, just say like, yeah, that's a hell box I have. Don't mess with it. Mm-hmm. You'll summon these dicks that'll come get you.
Yeah, but don't do what these nerds do and like speak in riddles. Just be very clear. It's like, oh no. If you mess with that thing, it's going to open a gate to a hell dimension, and these leather freaks are going to come here and kill you with chains. So just leave that where it is.
It's Homer with the forbidden donut.
Exactly.
It's just like, yeah, they can just sit there like, come on, don't you want to play with the box? And it's like, no,
I'm good.
I super don't. Yeah.
It's just the brood
and at
wish.
the end, it was, I love that the ending is they're just like, what is your wish? And she's more or less like, yeah, I've seen how you guys interpret wishes. I'm good. Like, well, and that's, you guys, the word for wish isn't the same word between us, so I'm going to go ahead and say no.
Yeah, of course, and that's the, kind of the reveal is that the lament configuration, which is its first configuration, the box form, is the benign form. That's when you just choose to just live, when they explain it as living with the memory of all the things you've done. It's like, sure, fine, just keep those chains far away from me, please.
Yeah, I love that the Cenobites are like, oh, really? Don't you want to get like cut into a billion pieces? Yeah. Okay, whatever.
That's the point. They don't. They
don't understand.
They don't understand that anymore. Yeah, they've been this for so long that they're just weird. You don't want like your skin peeled off? You sure?
Yeah.
You don't want like a cool new like helmet that like pulls the skin away from your mouth, so you got the cool little teeth, little big teeth. You don't want that?
Yeah, exactly. You don't want that. What's wrong with you?
You don't want big teeth? Are you sure? We can shove A mechanical loom through your chest. You don't want that?
It's like cotton candy to them, where they're like, "Really? Who doesn't want this?
You don't want some of this?
Right.
A little bit of this?"
I would love to see a crossover where they run into Bill Murray from Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh yeah,
and they're like, here we go. That's my guy.
He's just so into it. He'd be the best Cenobite.
He really would.
Just see him as Pinhead.
Bill Murray Cenobite. Yeah. This movie's silly as fuck.
But again, I really love all the Cenobite designs. I still I still think the idea of the Cenobites is a cool idea. It's creepy and weird, and it's got that like.
It is, but I don't think this movie.
No, this is not.
Pulls it off.
They're not. They don't. Like
one of them gets caught in a door.
It's very silly. We keep landing on the same thing, which is basically Hellraiser does not work as a slasher movie. It just doesn't. It's there's too many rules to it. It's too conceptual. So in order to create a situation where a bunch of people are repeatedly in danger from them, it requires a bunch of silly shit to keep happening. Because you're right, you wouldn't fuck with that box. The first time you saw it poke somebody and these super fucking leather dudes come out of space to maim that person into oblivion, you'd be like, I'm throwing that in the ocean. Like, it's in a volcano.
I'm all set.
Yeah, like, what, firing this out of a cannon. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. It's better when it's like a story about like I liked the opening. That's like more the vibe of what Hellraiser is.
Yeah. Starts in the Berkshires, which I was like, this is the Berkshires.
Yep.
It's rich. And then it's a himbo.
Yeah.
It's a Death of the Himbo.
Yeah. Death of a Himbo. Arthur Miller's classic play. But yeah, it's the idea that like this super rich dude played by Goran from ER has collected all this shit. Like it's better when it's like some weird rich freak tracking down shit, who's just like
they make him
evil
they
hedonism bot, basically.
Yeah, he shows up later, and he really should have been even more of a driving force, because that's how you get around people being like, duh, what's this puzzle box?
Right.
You have this guy, like, facilitate it.
Exactly.
Like, honestly, I wish that journey he goes on that we see the end of, that would have been more interesting to watch this rich guy be, like, collecting. He's, like, a serial killer, and he's using the puzzle box and stabbing people.
Right, it's kind of like the Ninth Gate sort of takes that approach.
And that's what makes it a slasher. The slasher is like it's a person with using the box as the weapon. That's how you do that. But they don't do that for most of the movie. So yeah, it begins with him like getting his wish. And what we learn, I really like how his character arc goes.
Oh yeah.
What we learn at the end is he's like, so these guys are dicks. Like he just hates them. And it's really funny to me.
They put this. So when you solve for the uninitiated, when you solve the final configuration, the Cenobite's god Leviathan or whatever comes down, and you basically get a wish. You get to pick from one of the configurations, and they each mean a different thing. So he picks one meaning sensation.
Yeah, and so this is all on him. If I met these motherfuckers and it was like, I want to feel sensation, they're like,
no, you
okay, don't. Yep, yeah. It's like, I would stop and be like, wait, define sensation for me real quick. Like, why would you pick sensation? These these hell beasts. And it's like, I want to feel feeling. And they're like, yeah, you got it, buddy.
You sure will. Like, pal.
Yeah.
we got you all set. But yeah, well, that was another weird thing is you see that you sort of spend the whole movie assuming that, because the final configuration is power. And so you see like this huge, this rich, crazy dude.
Assume he'd want that.
Right. He's living in a huge, freaky puzzle house in the Berkshires. He's this real huge creep who's just like a captain of industry doing all this sinister shit. Of course he wished for power. Nope.
Yeah.
He wished for sensation. And the way they interpreted that.
Like, okay. He's like, I already have power, so I wanted to feel.
That is.
Yeah, he's a weird pervert.
I can't really fault the movie for that, because that is kind of like an interesting way to subvert that, where he's like, well, I already have everything. Like, what more power could I possibly have? Give me something that I can't. Give me something I can't steal. I get that, and that's a cool idea. So I rescind my criticism of that. But anyway, so the Cenobite's interpretation of you want sensation, like, all right, so they shove this mechanical contraption in his chest that is just like a loom that constantly pulls on his nerves, and it's a really cool visual that is also very
super
funny.
gnarly.
It's also very funny because he's got
it's extremely funny.
He's like hunched over when you finally see him. He's hunched over with this huge thing sticking through it. And it's like, what the fuck is that?
It's funny for a few reasons. One,
he's put on a suit around it, Dave.
Yeah,
he cut his suit to accommodate it so he could still wear suits. I'd be like, I'd give up on shirts at that point.
Yeah. I would be soaking in the tub all day. That's what I'd be doing.
So yeah, like every minute or so, like the loom twists his nerves, and so he's basically been experiencing this agony over and over and over again for 6 years.
It's also extremely funny to me because it's the laziest thing the Cenobites could have done. They're just like, here's this fucking nerve loom. We're just going to cram it in your chest.
Right, they basically...
Like, compared to what they do for power, it was just like, this is so unceremonious compared to that. They're like, here's some bullshit we have on our ship.
Right.
We just shove it in you.
It's like the player piano version of granting a wish. They're just like, we built a bot that'll grant your wish for you. It's like, well, couldn't you... I felt like I thought I was going to get something a little more personalized.
Right. Also, it feels like he could have broken it or like taken it apart. I don't know. Maybe it's like really magical. And you can't.
The fact that he's still alive with it sticking in his chest, Dave.
Yeah, that's true. It's just very funny how how real it's like a steampunk apparatus. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I didn't expect like a physical object to be crammed through me, but
it is like, all right. Like most... I don't want to say like most things, so I'll admit that. Like most things in the Hellraiser sequels, and in Wishmaster, it is both gnarly as hell and funny.
Yeah.
Like deeply hilarious in a way that's hard to explain, I guess, but it's just... Yeah, it's just... They shove this fucking jukebox into his chest. Do they give that to everyone who asks for sensation?
I don't know. It's great.
Do they?
Again, this movie is hilarious.
Yeah, it is very funny in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because again, at no point are the Cenobites very scary. They don't. I don't know. Here's a compliment I'm going to say about this movie and the Hellraiser original and this era of horror from the 80s, like late 80s.
Yeah.
Is horror used to be more surreal, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is like, this movie, Nightmare on Elm Street, where it's like, it's the concepts are a lot more like surrealist, where like the physical world around them changes. And I love it when horror movies do that because it creates this idea of like the van scene in this was great because it creates this idea of like there's no escape. It doesn't matter where you are.
That is the coolest idea in this movie is the van sequence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's I'm not saying modern horror doesn't do this, but old horror did this a lot more, like Evil Dead with the mirrors, where it's like it turns into water, like shit like that, or like the one with the rocking horse. People are yelling at me.
The rocking horse.
Yeah, it's a sequel. I'll think of it later. It's a random Prom Night 2. Prom Night 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you remember Prom Night 2, right?
Yeah, I sure do.
Like that era. And that's another movie that's like late 80s. That's actually 87, same as the original. Where it's like
still had a lot
weird.
of... Yeah, we still had a lot of bullshit slasher movies, though, throughout the 80s, obviously. And like, think what ends up happening... Because the original Hellraiser is more like that, too. And obviously you see scenes like that in this movie. But I think it just comes from the instinct to sequelize them. And so it's like, well, how do we keep making sequels to this? And they always seem to go toward the slasher route instead of doing...
Oh, yeah. No, but I'm saying aesthetics. I really like the surreal aesthetics that this brings that I think you don't see in a lot of slasher or a lot of horror in general, where it's like a ghost is just going to be some boogan that pops out, some fucking bagool. And whereas it's like, oh, we're going to have Freddy Krueger rip this person's tendons out and puppet them like a marionette while he's giant, you know? Or like, in Prom Night 2, we're going to have the blackboard turn into water and she drowns in it. Shit like that, where it's like really fucking weird conceptually, which I feel like horror movie doesn't do that much. That said, I never find it that scary. I just find it cool. I'm always like, oh, what a cool idea. And this is the same, where there's these moments where like, now that there's CGI involved, it's you know, these are things that normally would have been models or stop motion or like really cool puppets, which would have been fun too. I know the makeup effects in this are pretty good. But it's like nice to see ideas where it's like, oh, the van stretches and it's like, oh, what a cool idea. Again, never scary. Never find it scary. I just think it's cool.
Yeah, and that goes a long way. There's
I think so.
I prefer haunting images, you know, to
ultimately me too, you know.
Yeah.
I just with most of these I just find them visually stunning.
Yeah. But not necessarily scary. And I think it's part of it's also is we're used to Hellraiser by now. Like Hellraiser, when it came out was fucking wild. There wasn't anything like that in mainstream horror movies.
I like that they went with hot lady Hellraisers.
Yeah,
a bunch of hot lady Hellraisers walking around.
Most of the Cenobites are ladies in this movie. Yeah, I noticed that.
Hashtag feminism. Girl boss. Girl boss Hellraiser.
Except Chompers. Chompers was a thing.
I don't think Chompers is anything.
Well,
I think Chompers is just Chompers.
Oh, bless him.
Yeah. Chompers is living the dream.
He really
Chompers is living his best life. He's just like, what do? I chomp. I'm a chomper. Give me something to chomp. I'll chomp it. I love it.
I like that they played with the idea that like the Cenobites will sort of ignore whoever wasn't marked. So like, her brother's boyfriend, like you think he's about to get got, but the Cenobite just walks right past him and heads for the other two because they've been marked. Yeah. Or rather, the main character's been marked. But just real quick, I thought I liked that idea, but then I also liked how they put a pretty firm limit on it because like her scumbag boyfriend starts like pushing his luck with it and like shoving and trying to punch Chompers. So Chompers bites the fucking shit out of his arm. Yeah. It's like, buddy.
He's just like,
there are limits. It's like, yeah, she's the marked one, but like maybe don't put your arm near that guy's fucking mouth. He's all mouth.
Yeah, he's like, listen, I'm at work and I'm trying to be professional about this, but if you come at me, I will defend myself.
But look at me.
Listen, that person's marked, but I'm still a person over here. Right. You know, I still have feelings.
I'm 30% teeth, so like, don't tempt me.
Yeah, I have free will over here. I can fuck you up if I want to.
Yeah.
I might get written up by my boss, but you know, I don't give a shit. That's a bit again. What's funny and like could be potentially scary about the Cenobites is that they just really have rules, and again, it makes them mostly funny.
Yeah.
Because again, when so what he does, and this doesn't make any sense. This is a bad moment. So we haven't really gone through the plot, but basically this rich person has been set this all in motion because the guy with the fucking loom, he basically has been planning to trap the Cenobites to be like, hey, get this fucking loom out of me. It's so funny where they're like, yeah, what is your wish? And it's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I wish to not have this fucking loom in me, you dicks. And so what we learn is the bad guy, who is bad because he's sacrificing lives, because the whole thing is to talk with the main Cenobite, you have to sacrifice lives with the puzzle box. So he's not good. But then at the end, he draws them in and traps them. And he traps them, and he basically says, I want to speak to your manager. He's like, listen, I'm going to trap your fucking, your soldiers here. You get this fucking loom out of me.
Yeah.
And in a way, he's kind of the good guy in that moment.
Well,
because
he's not the good guy, but the main character definitely should not have done what she does.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
They're the enemy of my enemy situation right now, because he is trapped the Cenobites who are also after the main character.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, fuckers,
And-
I got you.
And her friend, like her friend was the last one marked and is actively being chased by Cenobites when Goran traps them all in these cages. So it's like, well, he's evil, but he's got them all trapped in these magic cages. So let's just ride this out.
Yeah, and he's not going to hurt her friend. Like, he's evil, but he's also not, like, he's desperate.
Right.
So he's killing these people.
He has a very specific agenda that doesn't involve them.
Exactly. And he's like, I'm not going to kill any more people than I have to.
Yeah.
That's essentially it. And so he's got them trapped. He's like, you get this fucking loom out of me.
Yeah.
And she untraps them.
She opens the cage.
And I have no fucking idea why she would do that.
No clue.
Because as you point out, they immediately start going after her friend again. And start, like, he has them.
They tie him up. They briefly crucify him with like skinning wires. Like he almost gets fucking got because she opens the cages. Why did you open the cages?
Yeah, see how this plays out. I mean, what are you trying to get on their good favor?
Yeah,
like what is this?
Goran is an asshole, sure, and but like fucking. Let the cage bit ride out. Let's see where this goes.
That is something a bad person does.
Yeah.
Like that would be something like Benny from The Mummy would do.
Exactly.
It's it's like so weird that she does that, and that we're supposed to be like into it. It was like, what the fuck are you doing? Why would I have no idea why she did that. Only to just make the plot continue.
Exactly, because if they didn't have if it was just him. Like if it hadn't involved her friend, like if he hadn't marked her friend with the puzzle box right before he did it, so he's going to be
then it might be fun.
Then it would have made sense, because then he'd be like, well, fuck this guy. I'm just going to ruin his trap for him while we escape. But that's not the case. Her friend is marked,
right?
And as soon as she opens the cage, the Cenobites are going to kill him. So that's like a great example of why I thought this movie was bad. There's like 100 moments like that.
None of the characters don't do anything that makes sense.
No,
absolutely
no.
And
it's frustrating.
It much like a slasher, and I understand because I'm sure the original is much better. But like I was watching this like a slasher where I was just rooting for the Cenobites.
Of course, yeah. Like after the first 15 minutes, I was like, well, I hope they get everybody. I hate all these people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Again, the only person I liked was the boyfriend who almost gets got. So they at least knew to save him.
Her brother's boyfriend,
because
not her scumbag boyfriend. He gets
not her scumbag. He gets
her brother's pretty
boyfriend.
Hardcore got at the end.
Yeah, doesn't work out for him.
Yeah, he gets if the word degloved bothers you, then spoilers.
Watch this movie. Yeah. So that's weird, and then the movie devolves into a negotiation scene.
Yeah,
where the Cenobites. The Cenobites are very patient because she traps them. She untraps them, and you think, oh, they're going to fuck him up.
Nope.
No, they just like approach, and they're like, anyway.
So he solved their box.
Back to our conversation. Yeah,
so
it's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Dave. They have nothing
Here's
but
the
time.
thing.
Nothing but time.
Oh yeah, but here's the thing: is like, why do they give her wish? Because she didn't solve their box. He solved the box. She helped. Like, again, it's very weird. Like, I love when the Cenobite is just, like, talking to her. Like, she goes to throw the puzzle box away, and Pinhead's like, no, don't do that. And it's just like, you shouldn't do that. You should chill with us.
And then she doesn't.
Yeah.
It's another moment where it's like...
They mark her. Yeah. They hit her with blood, and they go, now we own you.
Right, but then
it's just very funny because the Cenobites seem to know how incredibly easy they are to beat.
Oh yeah.
And so they have to like negotiate a lot.
Well, you can't really beat them. They always get what they want.
Yeah.
Like it's just like,
very funny.
You can't really
There's nothing
you can't really trick them. Like they don't care what you pick at the end as long as they get their little as long as you feed the puzzle box lives, that's all they care about.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what's very funny about it is that you realize like I don't know. There's something like I'd rather deal with a Cenobite. Or sorry, I'd rather deal with a Cenobite than like a bear.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because a bear wants something scarier. It wants to consume and eat.
You can't talk to the bear.
Yeah, it's weird that you can negotiate. Like it's the whole like it's the anti-Terminator where it's like it can't be bargained with, it can't be reasoned with. In this case, they absolutely can. I feel like they could even be bribed. Like it's weird how reasonable the Cenobites are.
Yeah.
And it's very funny to me.
You have to
that he
you have to be the one that had that summoned them in the first place, but yes.
Yeah. But then once you do, they're like, they talk this guy. It's so funny that he's just like, I don't want this loom. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, what do you want then?
Yeah, they're like, well, we don't do we don't do returns.
Yeah,
but we do exchanges.
We can do exchanges. We can, like, they actually are reasoning, and like you'd think they just say no, but no, they're like, okay, well, let me take out the book here and look at see what we can do for you.
It is
like they're literally, it's like a customer being like, I'm unhappy with my service.
We're listening to a customer service call. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so weird.
I acknowledge that it's funny, but I do like that about the Cenobites. I like that they're just their nature is such that like they are a little confused when you don't want their gift. They're like, well, you don't like it? Why don't you like it? You wanted sensation, right? So we put a jukebox in your chest. It's like, I didn't fucking want this, man. Give me something better. Well, I don't know. Okay, what else do you want?
Yeah, it's both. Well, yeah, that's the thing. It could be a really scary concept if you did it a certain way, but they don't do it that way. It's more funny.
Right. It needs to be like, I like the explanation of the lament configuration, but it would make them more sinister. Although I recognize this not necessarily the intent, but it would make them more sinister if it's like you had to pick one gift and they're all fucked.
Right. The fact that you can just say no is very funny to me.
Yeah.
Because this is juxtaposed with her getting the conversation, which again, she didn't solve the puzzle box. It's weird. He solved it. That's why they're talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very funny because you see him negotiating and it's clear like there's no good answer. And then just watching her just be like, yeah. They're like, you can choose resurrection, and just this moment of thinking, like, yeah, I think I'm gonna not.
Yeah, I don't want anything.
I think I've seen. I think I've seen what you guys think are wishes, so I don't want to see what resurrection means in your mind. So I'm gonna bounce, and then that's it. You can just say no, I'm good, and they'll go, oh, okay, bye.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
I mean, it's sort of like The Ring.
Yeah, where The Ring, it's just like so many rules.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I did.
The Ring is another one where it's like, when like there's something very funny about a villain that calls you to schedule an appointment.
Mm-hmm. Now, I did want to sort of mention, because this probably hasn't been clear, I did enjoy watching this movie. I think this movie is entertaining. I just think it's bad.
Yeah, I mean, the screenwriters, it's the people who work with David Bruckner, who did The Ritual and stuff, and then it's David S. Goyer, who did The Screen Story.
Mm.
And I don't think David S. Goyer is a good writer.
No, he's not.
And I'm wondering what he did to make this suck. Like, that's the thing, is I really like this director still. I think this is well made. I love
it is. I do.
The look of it.
Yeah, I do really, like I said, I really appreciate that there aren't any jump scares. It's all just done with the rhythm of the movie, and I think that's really cool, and it's a lot of these cool sequences and visuals,
Yeah, but to me, this stinks of David S. Goyer. And what I mean by that is that David S. Goyer, for me, most of the times I notice his writing, it's when a character does something just needlessly dumb to push the plot ahead.
Yep.
Like, that's a big David S. Goyer thing to me. And this is filled with that.
Yeah. This movie is exclusively that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's people doing things that's like, why would you do that?
Yeah. Why would you ever do that? Yeah.
Which you could argue is every slasher film, but it's a lot more obvious when you have to solve a fucking puzzle box.
Yeah.
Every time.
And it's not not every slasher film. It's just an easy trap that horror movies fall into, because it's like, well, nobody cares. It's a horror movie. So it's like it's almost like encourages bad behavior in terms of screenwriting. Right. So yeah.
It's very silly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very silly film.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it. And again, the visuals are great.
Yeah. The
makeup, the costumes.
Yeah. It's cool, but I was ultimately disappointed by this movie, and that sucks. But it was still entertaining.
I was less disappointed, and I think it's because I had no expectations. and I enjoyed the visuals, and I laughed. I had a good laugh throughout. Like, it was gnarly and it was funny and it didn't scare me, but I enjoyed it.
Sure.
Because it was just, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it. Again, when she hits, I believe she stabs the chompers, right? And
I think she
stabbed.
Maybe, I can't remember.
I don't know. The first Cenobite, she stabs, just like gets stabbed and goes, oh, yep, you found the loophole, and like steps away and then gets torn up. And that was very funny to me. And like that's such a funny thing to do. Like they take away anything that could make the Cenobite scary. And it almost feels purposeful. Where I'm like, I'm supposed to laugh, right? They're supposed to be funny. Like, and then their plan after that is like, let's just stab another. And it's like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah, obviously.
Just keep stabbing them. And it's funny that they dropped that plan because it's like
a fish or something. Like,
yeah, stab a fish. Go to stab a cow, you know?
Get a lobster at the lobster tank.
Yeah, because once you realize you can do that, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or again, they just stab, like she tries to stab another one and then it gets all weird and she's like, ah, but like try again. Once it's caught, like, I don't know. It's very funny.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of very funny stuff.
Yeah.
And then when it takes its final configuration, the boyfriend's like, don't stab me with that. And then he runs at her.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, dude.
It's the screenwriting shit. They wanted her to stab him, but they didn't want her to just stab him. He had to like lunge at her in a way that makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but the advice is if someone pulls a knife at you, you run away. You can't do anything then. Mm-hmm. You don't run at them.
Yeah.
It's very stupid to run at someone with a knife. That's stabbing yourself.
Yeah, it's that was like kind of almost, that was pretty much the final straw for me. I mean, it's like right at the end of the movie too, but it's just like, okay, like this is just so, that was a real Alan Alda pulling out a gun at the end of Murder at 1600. It's like, okay,
exactly.
Like this is just script just fucking sucks. All right.
It's a bad script. But I had a blast watching the stupid thing.
Yeah. It is well made.
Again, Wishmaster. It's the same as Wishmaster, where it's like
it wasn't as fun as Wishmaster. It was just
it could have been more fun. You're right.
Yeah, so it's like even like I don't know. I was really disappointed by this movie.
That's fair. Well, it's getting really good reviews, so like I was expecting it to go the other way. I was expecting it to be really scary and really like meaningful and stuff because the reviews seem to imply that this was going to be like really intense.
Maybe it is for some
you've
people.
Ever seen. Yeah, for me it was just fun.
It's less intense than the original.
Right. This was a movie. You know what it reminds me of? Midsummer. Midsummer was a movie that I had a blast watching, and it had nothing to do with it being scary.
Oh,
it wasn't
that's
scary.
Fucking funniest.
I laughed. Yeah, and like I guess I like it because like I watched this late at night and I slept soundly. You know, because like this was
no problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the same with Midsummer. As I walked out of Midsummer, like, oh, that was so much fun, which is not what you necessarily want for a horror movie. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can be done.
Yeah, we can be done. I recommend this movie if you have Hulu because it's free. Just don't expect it to be like scary.
Yeah.
It's just kind of fun and silly.
Yeah, and if this is like your first Hellraiser, maybe watch the original first. Like,
watch the original.
Like, I feel like if somebody who had only known of like the reputation of the Hellraiser franchise started with this film, they'd be really confused. They'd be like, "Well, is this it? Like, this is."
Well,
like,
here's what I'll say: is part of the reason I probably enjoyed it is because I had no expectations.
Uh-huh.
So maybe watch this movie and then go back and watch Hellraiser, which is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, because then you'll enjoy this and then you'll watch Hellraiser and go, oh, well, this is better, you know? But at least you'll enjoy this movie more, probably. I feel like you'd be more disappointed like you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, yeah, a good comparison is like the new Candyman. Had the new Candyman been stupid and silly, that would have really bummed me out.
Yeah, but new Candyman's pretty good.
But it's awesome. So, I love the new Candyman. I've watched it twice. It's great.
It is pretty sweet.
Yeah. I got nothing more.
Yeah, we can be done.
All right. Hey folks, thanks for listening. We have a Patreon, gamefully unemployed. GAMEFULLY unemployed. We have, for just $5 a month, we have a bunch of exclusive podcasts on there, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. We also watch movies with our patrons every Friday night. We'll be watching horror movies, probably.
Yeah, it's Shocktober, Dave.
It's Shocktober, which also means next week we have a very special We Just Watched episode with a special guest. It's not for the movie Smile. I don't think we're going to cover Smile.
Probably won't cover Smile. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, everybody's saying how good Smile is, and the trailer, it looks terrible. So
yeah,
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I don't know about that Smile.
I don't know about that Smile. I tell you what I do know about, Dave, and that's we have a store. If you head over to gamefullyunemployed.com, you can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs. You can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So slap your little chain hooks on that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, get those chain hooks out.
Get those chain hookies in there. Get your little chompers in there.
Yeah.
Fucking chompers. I loved him.
He was the
best Cenobite.
He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, chompers.
He puts the bite in Cenobite.
Ooh.